I wanted to do a video about just some things and some insights that I have about acquiring land.
You see the trees growing from the ground, beautiful and pure energy, beautiful glowing.
I've learned things I think you should consider, and just things from my perspective, based on my experiences. So I bought this land, the GHF Farms is on, in 2018. And at the time it was purchased, it was farmland and it did have a farm number, but it did not have any infrastructure, meaning no electrical, water, there was no buildings on it, nothing. And it had been used to grow things that require little infrastructure, basically. So it was used to grow corn and soybean. And prior to that, it had been used to grow tobacco some years ago. And I didn't know any of that I just shared with you before I purchased the property. My mind, gonna, start a farm, go get land. But I did not do my research, okay? And so I'm sharing with you a lot of the lessons learned. There are a lot of things I would have done differently. Everything did work out. But if I had not been in a position to be able to absorb my mistakes, it could have had a far different outcome. So the first thing I would say before you purchase land is that you really do a financial check and see what you are going to be able to contribute towards said purchase. Now, with that said, some people do opt to do crowdfunding campaigns. I've seen some that have been successful and they've been able to get, a considerable amount of money. One, that is not necessarily a way that is successful for most people who attempt to do it. And two, you have to go into this not as thinking that land is a farm, okay? A farm is a business. Farming happens on the land, but the farm is a business. And so if you're going into business, you should be in a position that you're going to be able to handle whatever asset you acquire. Now, that doesn't mean don't do a campaign and get the money and go into it. I'm not saying that. Do that, but make sure you go into it with the strong farming sense, business sense rather. Go into it with strong business sense, and you still need to know how to handle money. You need to know how to handle money. And if you're in a position where you don't have access to a lot of money, then all of a sudden you do have access to a lot of money, then at least have some expertise to help ensure, and a plan in place to help you ensure that that money is deployed in a way that's most effective in achieving your goals. Or you've decided how you're going to fund it, whether you're going to do a commercial commercial funding, which is more challenging, like getting a business loan. If you choose to do that, whether you have the money outright, you're going to divest of some stuff, etc. You come up with a crowdfunding campaign or some other campaign, you get the money. Or if you do like I did. Now, I chose to get a private loan to acquire this land. So this property is privately owned by myself, ultimately my family, because I also have an estate plan, which is a whole nother conversation. Let me know if you want to know more about that, where the land is placed in a trust for my family. So the idea is that the business will one day, it pays a small rental fee now, but ultimately the business will pay considerably more. Sorry, my chair raggedy. And I'm just talking, y'all, extemporaneously. I don't have a script. I'm just telling you stuff, that I know at this point from my experience. And so those are your options. Once you've done that, your next step is to really understand how much land you need. And, some people suffer from acreage ego, where they're trying to get huge, huge pieces of land, and you have to be able to maintain this land and take care of this land. Or if you're going to allow this land to just, you know, go on its own and be natural, etc., then you have to still probably pay some taxes on it, or there's some consideration. All right, it is an asset. It does require consideration and administration. So really think about what kind of operation you want. How much land do you need? And I've been able to create a sustainable business on an acre. Okay, less than an acre actually, if you don't count greenhouse and high tunnel production. So you don't necessarily need a lot of land. Think about what kind of operation you want, and think about the cost and the resources that it's going to take to maintain said land. All right. You really want to think about what kind of operation you need, what your land needs are. And then you want to, before you contact a realtor, you want to start looking at land prices in the areas that you're interested in, right? All land is not created the same. That's number one. Land can have different soil types. It can have varying topography, the slope, where the sun falls. You want to grow something that's shade loving, and you're looking at land that's just wide open with no shade. That's why you need to know what you want to grow. Give that some thought, or at least the space you want to operate in. And then you're going to determine how much land you actually need. And then it's good to go out on your own, look at some land, look at the prices, go visit some areas, do some background research. Don't expect the real estate agent to be able to just know exactly what you need. When you're talking about actually acquiring land to build a farming business, someplace you're going to spend considerable amounts of time and energy and resources, you should go and try some places out. Go visit those towns. There's a chance that you may be looking at a more rural area. If you're looking at more acreage, or even if it's an urban area, go check those places out and spend some time there. So that way, when you enlist help of a real estate professional, you already have kind of a vibe, right? And an idea, at least. Although, remain open to whatever he, she, they may share with you. So that segues into try to find a real estate agent that has experience in selling farmland or land for agricultural use. They are rare. All right. There's not a lot of them. If you can find one, fantastic, because they're going to understand certain nuances, ask, some questions that you may not even know to ask, especially if you are new to farming. If you can't find that, at least try to find someone who has done a couple of raw land deals. Right? May not have been agricultural use land, but raw land deals. They've sold land, because it's a different process than like a residential. Now, if you're buying land that says has a farmhouse on it and can be zoned residential as well, then that's different. But I would still say you need someone on your team that knows something about, farmland. There are things you need to know about with this land. Questions to ask. Has it been used for agricultural purposes before? Is it zoned correctly? Are you going to be able to hit the ground running with your farming operation? What utilities does it have? If it has utilities, if not, how are people getting utilities? Is it going to require, a well to be dug, which can add 10 to 20 grand or more to your upstart cost? Are you going to have an electrical box put out, which again adds additional thousands of dollars? I have more money underground than I have on above ground. It's an investment. So you want to know that ahead of time, especially if you're looking at raw land. You also want to know if the land has any type of easements on it. And an easement is essentially it's like an agreement that you make with some public entity or, a land conservancy organization, land conservation organization or something like that. And the wealthy use it all the time. Basically, it's like, hey, I have this land. I'm not going to mess with it, or I'm going to make sure XYZ stays intact. And you're going to pay me for my effort in doing that. You're going to compensate. You're like going to buy that activity, etc., of me doing whatever the agreement is. And typically it's to agree not to develop it. Because I'm not developing it, you're, kind of like buying those development rights, so to speak. So that's what an easement is. I didn't do a great job of explaining it, but look it up. Again, very wealthy people use it all the time. So you need to know if there are any easements on it, if any of the rights have been sold away. Some states, they can sell away the mineral rights or the water rights. You don't want to buy land and you can't even use the water. What? So you want to ask those questions. You want to get the soil tested. You want to know, have chemicals been used on it? Is there a presence of heavy metals? What kind of soil types are there? And you can have this done through ag extension. At least it's like some of the more general ones. But if you want something really specific, it may be worth it to invest in the private test. If you're going to grow there, especially if you're trying to like really grow some, some quality stuff. You want to know what's been in the soil, what's been used on it. You want to go there different times a day, see how the sun hits. Like, seriously. And some people may be like, that's doing too much. You're about to make a major investment. It's not doing too much. You need to make sure that you're able to get the best land purchase, acquisition that is going to help you reach your farming goals, which hopefully it's to grow good, nutritious, or love-filled plants or raise animals in that way for people and for all people, and to make it accessible in some kind of way. So anywho, and to do as little harm as possible to the planet. So find out also about any public easements, like the highway folks. So that's something to know about. If there are any wetlands present, if there's any like endangered animals, or, you don't want to get a piece of farmland and you are told, well, you're not going to be able to farm anything on here because, the silverback, purple tongue, spiked three-headed toad, or whatever, the butterfly. It don't matter what it is. If it's endangered, then I'm not mad at it for getting that piece of property. It's hard out here for some species. I relate. So you're going to want to ask those questions. If you have the opportunity, if it's farmland, if you have the opportunity to speak to someone about you farmed the land, who farmed the land, then ask them questions like, what did you grow? How long? What are some of the challenges you had with certain pests, or just whatever. So you're going to want to do your thorough research on the property. Okay. One thing I suggest when you're touring the property is to use like an app, like Seek or iNaturalist, and like take pictures of stuff you see growing, just see what's out there, and see if you can start cataloging like for your serious contenders, right? So I would recommend that too. You may have some stuff already growing that is happy to be growing out there and that is profitable, especially if you're in the medicinal plants and herbs space. So definitely make sure you catalog what's growing and what's already out there. So, yep, those are my tips for, I just realized, y'all, my little tripod is crooked, but I got a tripod now. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
You see the trees grow.